Leominster Access Television was asked by the Mayor of Leominster and the Leominster Historical Society to participate in documenting on video the search and retrieval of the Leominster Time Capsule. We jumped at the chance because it's like having your own time machine.
Well, the time capsule I first heard about from Tucker Hazard. Tucker was so excited about this time capsule that he actually approached me about 15 years ago with some historic story about why we should open the time capsule earlier than 2015.
Here we are, and this year is our 100th anniversary year, and the notion is to open the time capsule. Lo and behold, no one really knows where the time capsule is. It's mentioned that it's in the cornerstone of the building on the southeast corner.
I kind of got this like mixed feeling, like, oh no, we're taking the time capsule out.
The cornerstone and time capsule were placed on July the 4th of 1915.
I always hoped and prayed I'd still be mayor when it happened.
If someone has a metal detector, could we put it on that date block and see if there's any metal behind it? And lo and behold, there was a hit.
Kind of like Christmas morning.
Well, we have a little adornment for the mayor's desk this morning. Something that hasn't seen the light of day for about 100, well, exactly 100 years almost. And it's fully sealed. It looks like it weathered the storm of a century very well behind the masonry. And just waiting to be cut open and contents revealed.
We got the Historic Society involved, I think, through Mark Bodanza as a city councilor, historian, and we started talking early on. I think last year we started with our committee to do this centennial here for the city. The 100 years as a city, 275 years as a city as in a town, and 100 years celebrating City Hall. That's when the building was actually built. So we had so much going on, and so we decided that we would put like a subcommittee together, and which Mark sort of headed up, and about how we were going to take the capsule out. We knew what was in it, but we weren't sure what it was going to look like, the condition of it. So it just sort of took a life on of its own.
This box has 94 items in it. We think we know everything that's in it, unless they left us a curveball. But most of them are documents and photographs, and there's one coin.
And time stops for no one, including Mr. Stolze. And here she is, 103 years old. Hang on, somebody wants to sing you a song. Frank Sinatra. Bob Hashey is going to, I guess, we're going to use this again, so he has to be really careful. So that's more anticipation. So, ready, Bob? His able assistant, Sally Poirier, is here, just in case something goes wrong.
I got the water.
You want to tell us what you're doing, Bob?
I'm heating up the solder, so hopefully it's going to break. It's been there 100 years. They knew what they were doing back then.
Here we go. This should be it. Is it gonna be hot? No. Well, this is hot from the sun.
From the sun, it's...
Other than that.
Oh my God.
Hold the bottom. Chicken piccata from El Camino. Less than that. You're not going to believe it. There's a box inside.
What in box?
There you go. Ooh.
The paper looks old.
Okay, there's another box. Now tell me this doesn't mean something for all you non-believers. Christ and the Dramas of Doubt is the name of the book. I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to take this, we'll bring it inside so everybody can see it. You're all getting hot, I can tell.
became obvious to the staff at LETV as we were getting into this time capsule project that we would have to document not only the recovery of the time capsule, but also we were asked by the City of Leominster and the Historic Society to capture some digital imagery to include in the capsule when they put it back into City Hall for the year 2115. So we began that process. We started thinking about, okay, what would be the best way to capture digital imagery for the future? People have asked, why don't we just include a CD or DVD in the time capsule and put the footage on a DVD? The problem is, 100 years from today, who knows where technology is going to be? They may not be able to read CDs or DVDs or have equipment that can read CDs or DVDs. They may not be able to read a thumb drive or be able to access anything on a flash drive or a thumb drive. So what we have to do is think back and think, seriously, how can somebody in the future access motion imagery? And the best way would be on motion pictures, we felt anyway, because you always have on a 16 millimeter reel of film, you can see the sequential imagery on the film itself. So that would probably be in the future, somebody would be able to figure out a way to project that and see the imagery in full motion of how it looked back in 2015. So we decided to dig out some old 16 millimeter film equipment, clean it up, brush it off, get it all in shape so that it worked and functioned properly. Purchase some 16mm motion picture film, put it into the camera, and go about the streets of Leominster and shoot some locations, public buildings, landmarks, places that people 100 years in the future would recognize in Leominster. Standing on the corner of West Street and Main Street, downtown Leominster. Actually, it's the Center Street or Main Street. Who knows? We're on the corner. It's the famous 1904 corner, I call it, because on this date in 1904, in September, a crew from Thomas Edison's company filmed a Labor Day celebration in September of 1904. Here we are in the year 2015, June. We're going to shoot 60mm film on the same corner. This 60mm film will hopefully be incorporated into a time capsule that will be sealed into the corner of City Hall, not to be opened until the year 2115. So hopefully people will know what to do with film in those days.
The plan is to use the same copper box. The metal guys did a pretty good job opening it without causing too much damage to it, so I'm pretty confident we'll be able to reuse it. And we're in the process right now of collecting things. And we're soliciting the community for ideas. Obviously, they can't be, I mentioned the dimensions of the box, 30 by 15 by 7.5. We're not going to be putting pink flamingos into it. But mostly, paper, photographs, things like that, some small objects.
What would we want to put in the time capsule that we would want people to see in 100 years from now? Sort of, what would be those special things we would want to kind of share with them? I think what we would want is for them to know how we were living, what our lifestyle was, sort of what was happening in technology, not something that people talked about 100 years ago.
The plan is to do something different than they did in 1915. We don't want to reveal all of the contents. We want to leave some mystery for the people in 2115. And it'll be sealed, resealed, and placed back into the building. The limestone block will be cemented back in place, and hopefully in 2115, the City of Leominster and its municipal building will still be there. And the citizens at that time can open the time capsule that we set. We don't know, we put CDs or we put DVDs in there. We don't know what kind of technology that will be available in 2115 to read this stuff. I would suspect they'll be able to do that. Whether they would or not, I don't know. It's really, I once read a book when I was in college back in '78 that said all of advancements in humankind from the beginning of time to 1978 would be surpassed by the technology developed between 1978 and the year 2000. And if you think about it, all technology builds off prior technologies. So technology is passing, I think the book's point is that advancements are now at an exponential pace because of that premise that everything builds off something else. So what we'll have in 2115, God only knows.
I think my message to people 100 years from now would be to look at 100 years past today, because from what we took out of that time capsule, it was very clear that people worked very hard, that family was first and foremost, front and center. Religion was important. Everything that came out of that time capsule was a particular fraternal organization or some sort of church. But whether they were religious or not, or fraternal, they were groups of people who would socialize with each other. They didn't have electronics to sort of do all that. I think my message would be, as complicated as things can be, as fast as the world can go, you ought to seek some simplicity in your life.
And I find it particularly interesting that we're at the crossroads, so to speak. We're here now, sort of taking a sort of pause in the passage of a whole century of time, opening the 1915 capsule, and at the same time we're placing the 2115 capsule. So we're getting to sort of in one way or another experience a whole 200-year epic. And it's fascinating to sort of speculate people in 2115 gathering downtown like we did just last Saturday and opening something that people 100 years before placed there. It's just it's mind-boggling to think of what those people will be doing, just as I'm sure the people in 1915 were probably having that same notion when they entombed their time capsule. So it does form one of the challenges. What would people be interested in? What will survive? How do we preserve it? What is indicative of who we are now in 2015? All those things are sort of at the core of it. And to me, it just underscores one of the most important principles of humankind, which is time. And I found a quote from St. Augustine, which I thought was so appropriate. And it was his definition of time. And he says, if you don't ask me, I know what it is. But if somebody inquires of me, I have no idea how to explain it to them.
I'd say to the people that are opening up the time capsule 100 years from now, that the 100 years past were extremely important and crucial and critical to the forever part of Leominster, Mass.